Hello everyone. So in this tutorial we are going to learn about this unit testing and test driven development in VBA. So basically test driven development is uh, necessary when you need to build something big, or when you want to build an application which you will use for longer time. So the advantage of test driven development that it will be easy for you to maintain the code and change code easily. Okay, so for making this tutorial little bit less time, I'm not going to show you exactly how everything like a test driven development project will go through, but I want to give you that initial idea. So in test driven development, we usually write the unit test first, and then we write the production code. Okay, so by unit test I mean, let's say this function. Okay, so it's saying that is capital letter. So let me show you this. So let's say it's capital number, capital letter. So if I put A, then it will get true, right? And is capital, but if I put small a, then it will say false, right? Then it will say false, right? And if I try to say that is capital letter, but I give more than one character, then it will throw an error. That given letter need to be one characteristic. So these three are the possible cases. Maybe another one case could be that the number is capital letter. Let's say if I keep number, so it should also print false, right? So let's say we want to build this function from scratch. So in that case, when we want to do test driven development, so in that case, what we need to do, we need to write the unit test first. Okay, so we need to test this function first. So we need to have a Rubberduck, okay, for this unit test tutorial. So let me add a test module. Okay, so if I click on this, then it will insert test module. So let me rename this to is capital function tests. So it will insert this type of code. Okay, so the first one is that this module cleanup. So you can see from this comment that this method runs once per module. So if you know about Java, then this is actually before what. Okay, so this is for at the beginning this sub procedure will be run. So you need to set up all of those variable or test data in this section if you want to use that in multiple tests. And this will be run at the end of this test, or at the end of this module, all of these test runs. And this one test initialize, this method runs before every test in this method. So this will run before every test case. So this is actually before each, comparing to Java. Okay, and this is afterward, something like that. This is before work, and this is after each test. So this will run after each test. So right now we don't need this particular area, but we may need after sometimes, or for a particular cases. So this is the test method. So you need to have these annotations to let Rubberduck know that if this is a test method or not. And then you need to give a useful name in this section. So we are going to test this is capital function, right? So let's say it's capital letter function test. So let's say we mistake the we did mention capital letter. So let me just change this. Okay, so now we can change this name. So we can give any sensible name. It's capital letter for capital letter case. Okay, so rename this. So this to do is done. Now you can see this arrange, act, assert. Okay, so we need to arrange the test. Okay, so you can see this is capital letter. This will return true or false, right? So how can we arrange this? That the let's say we get something after running it function, right? Actual as boolean. So actual is equals to the function collection dot is capital letter. Okay, so for the time being, let me make this. Let's say we don't have this function yet. So that is how this phase-driven development works. Okay, function collection, and then we need to give that as this is capital letter case. Let's say give this a. So in that case, get rid of this section. This is a small test, so we don't need to arrange an assert, arrange an act section. This is actually act section, and then we need to assert that test. So in this case, this should return me true, right? So assert dot is true, right? And then we need to give that actually what we get from this function, and then we can give a message that this test should return true, and that's all. Okay, now you can go in this Rubberduck unit test text explorer. Now refresh this. Now we do have this test. Okay, now if I run this test, method or data member not found, because we don't have this function yet. Okay, so this test failed actually, right? So what we need to do, let me define this function. So that's how we just write unit test first, and then we write the production code. Okay, so public function, and then it's capital letter. Let's say given letter as string, and it will return boolean. Now we have this. Now refresh this and run this test. So this test get failed, right? Because we don't have written any code in this section. Okay. Now let's say how can we pass this test, right? So for this section we need to check that if that ASCII code for the given character or given letter is in between 65 and 90, right? So we just need to copy this, and let's comment it out, and so and then we need to find that given character ASCII code. Okay, and then we need to check that if that is in between this section, right? So just I'm not writing in this section because I have already have written this, so I'm just copy pasting. But in real life scenario, you need to write this. Okay. So this one, and then this will be my output. Now we have written all of this code to pass that test we have written, right? So unit test, test explorer. Now if I run this test, this time this test got passed, right? So you can see this on succeed. So this is for capital cases, right? So let me do same thing for small letter case. Okay, so small letter case, and you can give this, capital letter case, and in this section small letter case. Okay, now same thing, we just need to pass a, and this one should be false, right? So assert.false, is false, and then actual this test should return false. If you want to give a message, this is an optional argument. Okay, now let me go to this unit test explorer module, refresh this to get that another test, and now you can see this one. Okay, so now you can select this and just select only selected test, or you can run all tests. Then you can see this test also got passed, right? So now let me test this for digit. So same thing, later this one will be digit case. So digit case, now only give this, let's say 8 or 10 or something like that, sorry 8, and now just go to this unit test explorer. Now this comes here, and then right click on the mouse and run single test. Now all these three tests are passed. Okay, right now all these three tests passed. Now in case, let's say you wants to add validation that this should be a single character. Okay, in VBA we don't have that character as data type, but we can check that in this section, right, and throw an error that if that is not one character. So that part is defined in this section, right? So now we will comment it out. So it will throw an error, that error raise 13, type mismatch. So this should be a character type, but you have given a string of more than one character. So in that case it will throw an error. So this time we cannot copy paste this part, so we'll go to in this Rubberduck unit test. You can see this test method expected error. Okay, so I'll insert, sorry, this is one bug I guess, that for the first time it does refresh, just to refresh it, and when we click twice then it gets updated. Okay, so same thing is capital letter. The difference is that error raising case. Okay, so this will be capital letter function error case. So this is saying that expected error number, that was 13, right? Type mismatch error. So this is 13, this is done. So what we just need to do, we just need to this part. Okay, now this time we will put something like IS. Okay, let's say I put my name. So this time, indent current procedures, and that's all. Now let me go in this Rubberduck test explorer. Right now we have this text error case. I can run this single test, and this got updated that this is raising an error. So all test, so it passed all of this test. Okay, so this is how in real life we do this test-driven development. Okay, so we write test first and then we write code for pass that test. Okay, so I'm going to delete this part because I already have that code in this section. It will take time if I want to show you this example and this one in the process that TDD works. Okay, so I hope you got the idea that how this test-driven development works. Okay, now let's see if still my test runs. Okay, this is good. So I guess we cover all of this scenario for this particular test cases. One scenario you can mention that is left out, that if the string is null string. So let me previous this one is not going to raise an error, so is capital letter null string case. So null string case, null string case, let's say pass nothing, null string. In that case this should also return false, right? Because it's has nothing, so it is not a capital letter, right? So now I can go in this unit test explorer, I refresh it to include that new test and run this single test. Okay, this time it's saying that it's failed to raise an error. So it's saying that failure session failed, test raise an error 5, invalid procedure call argument. Now this is interesting, that when we're passing this null string, then it's raising error 5 or invalid procedure call. So let's go this section. Okay, so this ASC, I guess, raising that error. So let me debug that. So I can do this like this, is capital letter and then VB null string, and it's raising error in this section, right? That ASC, this is not getting any ASCII code value because this is null string. So in that case, we can raise another error, right? So that if given letter equals VB null string, then error.raise and 5, that is number 5. I can just copy paste this section. Function given letters now we can do in this in two way, okay, that you can handle this error 1 and then return false, or you can raise an error that this cannot be null string. Okay, so if we want to raise this error, then we need to add another test for raising error. But if you want to don't want to raise the error, then you can just return that is capital letter is equals to false and exit function. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so based on your priority. So let me raise the error. It is better for me. And let's just copy this. So we need to delete this method because this is raising the error. So this next one is that this one error. This is null string cache. So this time the error number will be 5 and nothing changed. Okay, so for null string cache. Now let me go in this test explorer, refresh this. Now let me run this single test. Yes, this still it's saying that assertion expected error was not raised. Okay, sorry. So this one need to receive null string. So that also is interesting that if expected error is not raising, then it will fail. So now all of my 5 tests is run for this particular function. Okay, so that's how we do this test-driven development. This is a bit time consuming for smaller project, but the process is really useful for long project. Like I did that code changing or insertion in this section, and then it's still I get this all of this test run successfully. That means all of those cases is runs successfully. So this is for this is capital letter function. Okay, now here we have make valid constant name. So this is the case when, let's say, I personally do declare all of the table as a constant. Okay, so let's say I have a table in this section, nothing but okay. And let's say this is settings table. Okay, look carefully that I capitalized each character of each word. So settings and then table. So this is my preference, but for that I write this code. So now let's say I want to declare that constant, so make valid constant name. In that case, that was settings table. Now my preference is that when I declare this constant, I want to say like public, and then this text as string equals to then this text. Okay, so capitalize and underscore as a separator between this two words or between words. Okay, so that's why I write this part of this code. Okay, so now I want to write unit test for this particular function. Again, if we go with the test-driven development, then we need to write the test first and then we need to do this. But let's say we already did this. Now we want to test this thing. So again, I need to insert another test module, but I can use in this one, but it's better to have multiple test module for different functionality. Okay, so I get this test module, let's say make valid constant name tests. So I guess that is the function name, make valid constant name. Okay. So now again same thing. So let me just do this. Make valid constant name. This one. Test. And the case will be in this section. Okay, now this one should return the utilize those things, right? So let's see. Sorry. Given name as string, or you can use should system_text, and given name is equals to let's say settings table. So this could be one test cases, right? Actual as string, actual equals to function collection dot make valid constant name, then given name. Okay, now my expected is expected as say string. Let's make this constant for this particular case, but we can go with this string. Okay, equals to that should be settings underscore, and then my expectation would be make valid constant name settings table, this one, right? This is bad practice, but you can see that this will be the expected output. Now Assert doesn't only have is true or is false, it also has AreEqual. So the first one is expected, so expected is this one, and actually is this actually what we get from this function, and let's say this is not necessary, so no optional, so I did this. Now you already did this first one, so let me change this name to for to odd case. Let's say this one. Now again test explorer. Let me refresh this up and run all of this test. So this make valid test, this also runs, and it succeeds, right? So the first test is okay. Now let me this was for 2 word, right? Let's see if we use only 1 word for let's say 2 word case. Let's see 1 word case. Okay, now oh sorry, I did a mistake, so this part need to be in upper section, not in this below section. And then current procedure, so this one should have in this section. Okay, now let's say then this name is only having setting. Okay, and let's say the first odd is not capitalized. So in that case, that name should be like this. Okay, expected. Let me go in this text explorer, refresh it up. So we have this particular test, and then not run test. Sorry, not it. Okay, so let's see. Run all tests, and this test also runs correctly. Okay, so this is for one odd case. Let me check same thing. Let's see, it already declared as it should be, right? So let's see this one also 2 odd. Already formatted. Two odd case already formatted. Now let's see. So this is given name, and the expected should be the same thing. It shouldn't change anything, right? Okay, so let's see offset. I did in this wrong section. Formatted case, sorry. So that is this one and this section. Expected should be the same thing. It shouldn't modify anything, right? So again, test explorer, refresh it up, all test, and all test is first. So this is good, right? And let's see if we can have any other cases. So UK's character flat. Okay. So this is not raising any error, but still you could have raised any error. Say if given name is null string, okay, and then this should be, or empty string, then this should be raise an error. So let me write that test. Now this will be error case, test method with error expected error. This one. Null or empty string case. Okay. So this should be uh, 13 type mismatch. Yeah, mismatch. Make valid constant name. Null or empty. Let me put it into two different functions. Okay, now same thing from this section, just process will be different with current procedure. So let's say this is null string, right? So we null string. Then this should raise an error, so we don't make this part. So expected is 13, so this one. Okay, now let's see, this test should fail now because we haven't did that but yet. Now this test got failed. Okay, so because we haven't changed the code, now we need to satisfy this test. For that we need to modify this test function, this function. Okay, so if given name is equals to the null string, then raise error 13, this will be make valid function, and cause is that constant name cannot be null string. Still there are other cases that constant cannot be stored with number and other cases, but let's make this simple. Okay, so now we did this to pass this test. Okay, test explorer, let me run all of this test. Now this test got passed. Okay, now we can have another. This is for empty string. So empty string cases. So this one for null, empty string case, same error, and instead of this you can say, let's say this. Okay, or we can put some this like this. So we haven't modified the code yet, so this will fail the test, you can see. Then I can modify this, that or given name, sorry, I need to trim it up, trim given name equals to, so let's say we can merge these two things into one single. So trim, and let's run the test now. So test explorer, run all tests, and all tests got passed. So this is done. Okay, now we can have other cases, like you can declare a variable with number, right? Like public, so it's need to be characterized, like public one variable as string. This is a constant equals to this. It cannot be done, right? But we can remove this and this will okay. So we cannot add this one. So the first character need to be always character, right? So we can add that validation in this section too. Okay, so the first character, right? So we can say that or left of this given name one character, like can use like operator, and that will be A to Z or A to Z. Then so this will be in not section. Now let's see if this throws an error. Let me try with this. So same thing. Just let me add 1, and it's raising that error, right? So we can add a test case for this particular case, right? Go in this section, and also we can make this in a different section, that else if and that is then same thing, just error message is different. Constant name cannot be, or it can be constant name should be start with A to Z or A to Z, or we can say with English letter, but this is okay. So now go in this section, in this unit test explorer, refresh this up, and let me run all of this test. Oh, this 3 case is got failed up. Okay, so what we did wrong in this section. So left given name like is it not like it is it, okay? So test explorer, these 3 cases got failed, right? So the first, oh sorry, my bad. This one is expecting a string, so this should pass now. Yeah, so this is passed now. So we can get rid of this. Sorry, that this should be a string, not like it is it. The test explorer. So this one has that mistake, and now I can run all of this test, and it got all of this test passed. Okay. Now we haven't add that function for start with number, I guess, right? Yep, we haven't add that test, so let me add that. So start with digit, yes. Now same error should be popped up. Given text, let's say 1 test variable, and this should raise that error. So let's see, unit test explorer, just run this selected test, and it got passed. So this is, I guess, all of those scenario which can be fall through in this section. So this is all about this 2 function and how can we write unit test. Okay, now in this section we only could have covered Assert.IsTrue is false, but it has some other method. Okay, so we cover AreEqual. are not equal, it can be happen that we need to check that if it's not equal. I guess we could do this using AreEqual, but okay, are not same or are same. So this will be used for object data type. Fail, inconclusive, is false, we already covered. Is nothing for object data type. Is not nothing, is also object data type, we already covered this. Not sequence equal and sequence equal, so this one will be used for array. So not sequence equal and sequence equal. So we'll cover these two method in another test, okay. And I'll try to cover the rest of those things like are same or is nothing, is not nothing in another tutorial. So for the time being, have a good day, goodbye, and let me know if you have any question.